It's just for fun, I said. The fun cost $8,600 and I lost my vacation savings. My name is Marcus. I'm 34, a power company analyst, and I sleep on my mother's couch now. 6 months ago, I had a promotion, a house with a swing set, and 2 kids who ran to the door when I came home. You think it happens all at once? It doesn't. It started with celebrating good news. $200 felt like nothing that night. I won. The room got brighter. My wife thought I was working late. My boss thought I was sick. The truth? I was at the same table, same seat, watching my paycheck become chips. First it was rent money, then the kids' college fund, then something I promised I'd never touch, hidden in a velvet box, worth more than dollars. I kept saying, one more hand to get even. The dealer kept dealing. My phone kept buzzing with questions I couldn't answer. Let me take you back to the first lie I told my wife, and the night I couldn't stop my hands from pushing everything forward. When a father bets his children's future for one more chance, who's really holding the cards? Him or the house that never sleeps? It's just for fun, I said. The fun cost $8,600 and I lost my vacation savings. The first time Marcus Chin sat at my blackjack table, I'd been dealing cards at the Riverside Casino for 6 years. Long enough to know the types. The tourists with their fanny packs and frozen drinks. The regulars who knew my shift schedule better than I did. The system players with their little notebooks, counting cards badly. The desperate ones who smelled like cigarettes and yesterday's clothes. Marcus didn't fit any box it was a Tuesday night in late September, just past 11. The casino floor hummed with its usual symphony. Slot machines singing their electronic songs. Ice rattling in glasses, the soft flutter of cards against felt. Marcus walked up to table 7 wearing a Pacific Gas and Electric polo shirt, the company logo crisp over his heart. His wedding ring caught the overhead lights when he pulled out his wallet. Celebrating? I asked, shuffling the cards with practiced rhythm. Got promoted today. He laid $200 bills on the felt like they were nothing special. Senior analyst. Been waiting 3 years for this. I pushed chips across to him. 8 green 25s. He squared them into neat stacks, the way beginners do when they want to look like they belong. While I dealt the first hand, he pulled out his phone, showed me a photo on the lock screen. 2 kids grinning with missing teeth. Emma's 7, Tyler's 5. He said, not really to me, just filling the air. Emma made honor roll this quarter. Tyler just started soccer. He won the first 3 hands. Beginner's luck, we call it, though luck's got nothing to do with it. It's just math wearing a party dress. But Marcus didn't know that yet. He pressed his bets, riding the wave. By midnight, his 200 had grown to 500. Haven't been to a casino since my bachelor party, he said, twisting his wedding ring unconsciously between hands. 8 years ago, a bunch of us drove to Vegas, lost $100 and called it a night. Other players came and went from the table. A woman in scrubs who played 2 hands at once, never speaking. A kid who looked barely 21, nervously checking his ID every time the cocktail waitress walked by. Marcus chatted with them all, buying a round of drinks, tipping me $20 every time he won a big hand. You always this generous? I asked. Tonight I am. He smiled, and it was real, reaching his eyes. My boss has been on my case for months. Project deadlines, performance reviews. But today he shook my hand and said I earned it. Domingo, our pit boss, drifted over around 12:30. He had a radar for new money, could smell a potential regular from across the floor. Domingo watched Marcus play a few hands, noted the easy way he pulled cash from his wallet, the generous tips, the family man stability. Everything good here? Domingo asked, though he wasn't really asking about the game. Perfect, Marcus said, stacking another winning hand. This place is great. Nice and close to home too. 15 minutes from Roseville. Domingo made a note in his tablet. Customer profile. Home location. Spending pattern. The casino kept better records than most doctors' offices. By 2 a.m., Marcus was up $300. He'd been drinking Johnny Walker Black on ice, but nursed them slow, stayed sharp. When he colored up his chips to leave, he had $500 in his pocket, his original $200 plus $300 profit. This was fun, he said, sliding me another $20 as a final tip. Really fun. I needed this. See you around, I said, because that's what we always say. And because I knew I would. They always come back when they win their first night. It's like a law of physics, reliable as gravity. Marcus walked away with a bounce in his step, probably already thinking about the story he'd tell Stephanie. How he'd gone out to celebrate, had a few drinks, made a few bucks. No harm done. Just a little fun to mark a big day. I watched him disappear into the maze of slot machines, then dealt the next hand to the empty chair where he'd been sitting. In 6 years, I'd seen 1,000 Marcuses. They all started the same way. Happy point 2 weeks would pass before I'd see him again. But I'd recognize his laugh from across the floor. October arrived with its shorter days and Marcus arrived with it. Walking through the casino doors on the first Thursday of the month. No celebration this time. He wore the same PG&E polo, but it was wrinkled now, untucked on one side. The bounce in his step had flattened into something heavier. I was just starting my shift, counting my bank at table 7, when he sat down. He forced a smile, but his eyes were somewhere else. Rough day? I asked, fanning the cards for inspection before shuffling. You could say that. He pulled out his phone, checked the time, 10:47 p.m., then typed something quick. Told Stephanie, I'm at a work function. Team building thing. The lie sat between us on the felt, ugly as a bad beat. I kept shuffling. This time he brought $800. He laid them out in a fan, smoothing each bill flat. That's next month's rent, he said with a laugh that had edges. But I'm good for it. Payday's tomorrow. The cards turned against him from the start. First hand, 20 against my 21. Second hand, busted on a 12 when he hit against my deuce. Third hand, doubled down on 11, pulled a 4, watched me flip a 20. Come on, he muttered, not to me, not to anyone. The other players at the table, a Vietnamese grandmother playing minimum bets and a construction worker named Dale, exchanged glances. Bad energy was contagious at a blackjack table. Everyone could feel it at by midnight. The 800 was gone. Marcus stared at the empty betting circle in front of him like it might refill itself. Then he stood, walked to the ATM by the cashier's cage. I could see him from my table, punching in his PIN, waiting for the machine to think, pulling out another 200. The walk back to the table was different. In the casino business, we call it the walk of shame, though there's nothing shameful about it to us. It's just business. Marcus sat back down, laid the 2 20s on the felt. Got his chips. Fresh start, he said, but it wasn't. He played angry now. Splitting 10s, doubling on 13, making the kind of desperate bets that mathematics punishes. Dale left the table, mumbling about bad juju. The grandmother clicked her tongue disapprovingly, but kept playing her steady $5 hands at 2 a.m. Marcus was down to his last $40 when Domingo appeared. Smooth as silk. How's everything tonight, Mr. Chun? Marcus looked up, surprised Domingo knew his name. That was Domingo's gift, making every player feel special, remembered, valued. Even when they were losing. Especially when they were losing. Been better, Marcus admitted. It happens. Listen, for a good customer like you, we can set up a marker. Like a small line of credit. Just to keep you in action tonight. A marker? Very common. You've got a good job, steady income. We can start you at 500, see how it goes. I watched Marcus think about it. Watched him check his phone, 3 missed calls from Stephanie. Watched him look at his empty chip tray. Just 500? To start. We can always revisit later. The paperwork took 10 minutes. Sign here, initial here, copy of driver's license, employment verification. The cage issued 500 in chips, and Marcus was back in action. By 3 a.m., those chips were gone too. Plus another 200 he found in his wallet, tucked behind his Costco card like emergency money that he signed the marker receipt, folding it carefully into his shirt pocket. $1,400 in one night. More than he'd spent on Emma's birthday party last month. He'd mentioned that while losing the last of the marker, when he left, he didn't make eye contact with anyone. No tip tonight. No see you around. Just the quiet shuffle of a man who'd crossed a line he'd drawn for himself. He'll be back, Domingo said, making notes in his tablet. Tuesday probably. They always come back Tuesdays after a Thursday loss. Trying to get even before the weekend. Domingo was right, of course. The next Tuesday, Marcus was already at my table when I clocked in for my shift by mid-October. Marcus had developed a routine. Tuesdays and Thursdays became his regular nights. Sometimes Fridays if Stephanie was working a late shift at the hospital. He'd claim table 7 as his spot, would wait for it to open if other players were there. Started bringing his own Lucky Charm, a PG&E challenge coin he'd gotten at some company event. He'd rub it between his palms before big bets, like he could transfer its energy to the cards. I learned his patterns the way dealers learn all their regulars. He'd order Johnny Walker Black with ice, but only one per hour, maintaining control, he thought. He'd stack his chips in perfect towers of 5. He'd tap the table twice for a hit, wave his hand in a sharp cutting motion to stand. Professional, organized, like he was managing a project at work instead of hemorrhaging money at my table. The phone call started interrupting his play. He'd glance at the screen, step away with an apologetic look, stand by the sports book TVs to answer. Tell them payments processing, I heard him say one night. His back to me, but his voice carrying over the din of the slots. Another time. Can't tonight, baby. Absolutely slammed with this grid analysis. Craig's breathing down everyone's neck. I'd deal around his empty spot while other players waited impatiently. The grandmother who'd become a regular at my table would shake her head. Dale had stopped coming entirely. Said the table had gone cold since Marcus showed up. October 15th, a Friday. Marcus sat down already calculating, doing what we call gambler's math. The kind where you work backwards from what you need to win, not forward from what you can afford to lose. So if I'm down 2,000 for the week, he muttered, arranging his chips, and I start with 500 tonight. I just need to quadruple it. That's all. For good runs. I dealt the cards. He lost the first 3 hands. Okay, so now I need to quintuple what's left. The math got worse with every hand. By the time he was signing another marker, Domingo had raised his limit to 1,000. Marcus was calculating impossible mountains. He'd need to turn 1,000 into 6,000 just to break even for the week. The odds of that were astronomical, but gamblers don't think in odds. They think in possibilities. His phone buzzed. Stephanie calling. He let it ring through to voicemail, then listened to it with the phone pressed hard against his ear. Emma needs braces, he said when he came back to the table. Not to me specifically, just to the universe. $6,000. Insurance covers half. 2 hands later, he was betting $100 hands. That's the thing, he explained, as if I'd asked. If I can get up just 3,000 tonight, that's Emma's braces right there. Found money. Stephanie wouldn't even have to stress about it. He lost 400 in the next 10 minutes that a new player sat down at the table, a young woman with careful posture and designer clothes. She bought in for $50, played perfect basic strategy. Marcus watched her win 3 hands in a row with minimum bets. Must be nice, he said. And there was something sharp in it. It's just luck, she said. No such thing as luck. Marcus rubbed his challenge coin harder. It's all mathematics. Probability. The house edge is only 0.5% if you play perfect strategy. Then why? She started, then stopped herself. Why am I losing? Marcus laughed, but it was hollow. Because I'm not playing perfect strategy. I'm playing to win. There's a difference between playing not to lose and playing to win. One is about minimizing damage. The other is about chasing something that keeps moving further away the harder you run. Halloween week brought a special kind of desperation. Marcus had started waiting specifically for my shifts. Would sit at an empty table if I was on break, protecting his spot with a $5 minimum bet until I returned. You're the only dealer I win with, he told me, though we both knew that wasn't true. He wasn't winning with anyone. October 30th. The call from Stephanie came while he was mid-hand, sitting on 17 against my showing 6. He looked at the phone, at his cards, at the phone again. I have to take this. He walked away, leaving his chips on the table, about $300 in green quarters. I could hear Stephanie's voice through his phone from 10 feet away. Not the words, just the tone. Sharp, worried, angry. When he came back, his face was the color of the felt. Accounting error at the bank, he said to no one. I'll sort it out tomorrow. He played the 17, asked for a hit, drew a king, busted. The next hand, he split tens. The hand after that, he doubled down on 12. Vince, one of our regulars who'd been coming here since the place opened, finally spoke up. Hey buddy, you're killing the table with those plays. Mind your own business. It is my business when your bad juju costs me money. Marcus stood up, fists clenched. For a moment, I thought he might actually swing. Security started moving closer, casual but ready. Then Marcus sat back down, grabbed his remaining chips, and moved to another table. But 20 minutes later, he was back. This is my table, he said to Vince. Vince shrugged, colored up his chips. left muttering about these fucking addicts. The word hung in the air like cigarette smoke. Marcus rubbed his challenge coin so hard I thought it might wear smooth. I'm not an addict, he said to me. Addicts can't stop. I can stop whenever I want. He played until 4 a.m. By then, he owed the casino $3,500 in markers. November was starting in 3 hours. Rent was due. Emma still needed braces. And Marcus's wedding ring, which had caught the light so prettily that first night, kept spinning loose on his finger. He'd lost weight that I'd seen it before. Would see it again. November 1st, he sent someone a text while sitting at the table. Can you cover me for a few days? Emergency. October 30th turned into Halloween morning, and Marcus was still at my table when the sun started leaking through the casino's tinted doors. The call from Stephanie had shaken something loose in him. He played like a man trying to punch his way out of quicksand, wild, desperate, making it worse with every swing. She found the bank statement. He finally admitted, after losing another $100 hand. I've been moving money around, but you can only juggle so long before something drops. He showed me his phone. 17 missed calls from Stephanie. 3 from someone named Kevin, her brother, he explained, who'd loaned him $1,500 for car repairs the week before. Transmission, Marcus said with a bitter laugh. My car runs fine. The money went straight here. Other players avoided our table now. Word spreads in casinos. That's the table where the angry guy plays. That's the dealer who deals to him. Bad energy, bad luck, bad everything. Only Marcus and I remained, locked in this terrible dance where I dealt the cards that destroyed him and he tipped me for it. Domingo approached with paperwork. Mr. Chun, I can bump your marker limit to 2,000. Just need a signature. Marcus signed without reading. His hands shook slightly, not from drinking. He'd stopped ordering cocktails. From exhaustion. From anger. From the kind of bone-deep tired that comes from fighting yourself and losing. The extra 1,000 lasted 90 minutes. He started making side bets, playing multiple hands, doubling down on anything that looked like hope. When the cocktail waitress brought him a coffee, black, no sugar, he let it go cold while staring at his dwindling chips. My kids are going to hate me, he said suddenly. They won't hate you. Emma's Christmas pageant is in 6 weeks. She's playing an angel. Stephanie's already saying if I can't contribute to Christmas presents, I shouldn't come. His phone buzzed. A text this time. He read it, closed his eyes, typed back. Can you cover me for a few days? Emergency. By 6 a.m. on November 1st, he owed $4,500 in markers. The November rent money was gone before it ever hit his checking account. He stood to leave, then sat back down, then stood again, like his body couldn't decide whether to quit or continue. I should go home, he said. That's probably a good idea. Stephanie changed the locks. The first week of November, Marcus lived in his car. I knew because he told me, and because I could smell it on him. That particular mix of fast food and car air freshener that comes from a Camry becoming a bedroom. Kevin figured out the transmission story was bullshit. He explained. Nursing a Johnny Walker he couldn't really afford. Went to Stephanie, and now the whole family knows. Her mom called me a disgrace. 34 years old, and I'm parking at Planet Fitness to use their showers. He'd been moved to a performance review at PG&E. 3 missed morning meetings, he said, falling asleep at his desk. Craig, his boss, had pulled him aside, asked if everything was okay at home. I told him yes. What else could I say? Sorry, Craig. I've been up for 36 hours losing my kids' college funds. The weight loss was more visible now. His PG&E polo hung loose, and his wedding ring, which he still wore, slid to his knuckle when he dealt himself out between hands to take another call. That's Tyler's school, he said, looking at the incoming number, probably wondering why Daddy didn't pick him up yesterday. He didn't answer that I wanted to say something. But what? Stop? Get help? Go home. He couldn't go home. Home had changed its locks. Instead, I just dealt the cards, watching him bet money that should have gone to groceries, gas, keeping the lights on. You know what Emma told me last week? He said, arranging his chips for another hopeless hand. She said she's been saving her allowance to help Mommy with bills. 7 years old, and she's trying to cover for her father's fucking stupidity. Other dealers had started talking about him in the break room. Carlotta, our floor supervisor, called him a producer, casino slang for someone who reliably loses big. Management loved producers. They got comp drinks, food, sometimes even rooms, though Marcus was still local enough not to need one. Your regulars here. Another dealer, Janet, told me when I clocked in one Tuesday. Already down $1,000, and it's only 8 o'clock. When I got to the table, Marcus was on the phone with someone from Human Resources. I understand the policy, he was saying. I'm just asking for a little flexibility. It's a medical issue. A pause. Personal medical issue. Another pause. I'll have the documentation by Monday. He hung up, looked at me. Know any doctors who'll write notes for gambling addiction? That's not funny. Who's joking? He bet his last 100 on the next hand. Lost. Reached for his wallet to sign another marker. November 15th arrived without Marcus's wedding ring. The tan line was still visible, a ghost of the promise he'd made to Stephanie 9 years ago. Getting it resized, he said when Vince asked about it. But I knew better. Every dealer knows what pawn shops pay for gold. That ring was worth maybe $800 at the shops along Highway 99. $800 that probably lasted 2 hours at my table. He developed new tells. Touching his empty ring finger before big bets. Checking his Wells Fargo app between hands. Watching the balance shrink in real time. Sometimes he'd pull up photos of Emma and Tyler, stare at them like they were cards he was trying to count. Stephanie's working doubles at the ER, he told me. Picking up holiday overtime. Thanksgiving shifts pay triple time. She's killing herself to cover what I've destroyed. Maybe you should, what? Stop? I'm down 8,000 in markers. If I stop now, that's just gone. But if I can get one good night, just one heater, I can clear the debt and walk away. That's the gambler's paradox. You can't stop when you're losing because you need to win it back. You can't stop when you're winning because you're finally winning. The only way to stop is to never start, and it was far too late for that. His phone rang. Stephanie, I should take this, he said, but didn't move. It rang through to voicemail. He played it on speaker, not caring who heard. Marcus, I found the November rent notice. They're giving us 3 days before they start eviction proceedings. 3 days. Your children are going to be homeless because you can't stay away from that fucking casino. Mom says we can stay with her, but only me and the kids. Not you. Never you. Get help or get lost. He deleted the voicemail, bet 200 on the next hand. She doesn't understand, he said. I'm not doing this for fun. I'm doing it for them. To fix things. By losing more. By winning it back. The next 3 hands were brutal. 20 against my 21. Doubled down on 11. Pulled a 2. Watched me flip a 19. Split 8s against my ace. Busted both hands. Jesus Christ. He slammed his fist on the table. The whole casino floor seemed to pause. Security moving closer. Sir, I need you to calm down, I said, using my official voice. Don't tell me to fucking calm down. You're taking everything from me. I'm just dealing cards. No, you're... He stopped, looked at me, really looked at me for the first time in weeks. You're just doing your job. He laughed then, bitter and broken. We both are, aren't we? You deal, I lose. It's what we do. He played until dawn, chasing the November rent that was already gone. Thanksgiving came to the Riverside Casino like any other Thursday, except Saturday. The only people gambling on Thanksgiving were people who had nowhere else to be, and by November 24th, Marcus had become one of them. He showed up with an eviction notice in his pocket, unfolded it on the table like it was a map to somewhere better. 3-day notice, he said. Expired yesterday. Stephanie took the kids to her mother's in Sacramento. Told me not to come. The casino was nearly empty. A few lonely souls at the slots, a skeleton crew of dealers, and Marcus at table 7, betting $20 hands because that's all he had left. Know what Tyler asked me? He said, not really expecting an answer. He asked if Daddy was sick. Because Mommy cries when she thinks the kids aren't watching, and people only cry like that when someone's sick. I dealt the cards. He played them. We'd moved beyond conversation into ritual. He'd bet. I'd deal. He'd lose. We'd repeat. Sometimes he'd win a hand, and his face would light up for a moment before remembering that one win didn't erase 1,000 losses. Domingo drifted over with his tablet. Mr. Chun, happy Thanksgiving. Listen, I know things have been tough. We can work with you on the markers. Set up a payment plan. 100 a week, something manageable. 100 a week. Marcus did the math out loud. At 8,000, that's 80 weeks. Over a year and a half. Better than the alternative. We don't want to send this to collections. Collections. The word made Marcus flinch. Bad credit meant no apartment applications approved. No car loans. No recovery. Can I get one more marker? Just 500. If I can get up tonight, I'll pay it all back. I'm sorry, Mr. Chun. You're at your limit. Marcus laughed. My limit? Yeah, I passed that about $6,000 ago. Around 2 a.m., a woman at the next table started crying. Quiet tears rolling down her cheeks while she played her mortgage payment one hand at a time. Security didn't intervene. Tears don't disrupt gaming. Marcus watched her, saw himself maybe, or just saw another person drowning in the same water. First time, he asked her. Third, she whispered. It doesn't get easier. I know. They played side by side in silence after that, two people sharing rock bottom without looking at each other. When she finally left, down to nothing, Marcus gave her his last 20. For gas, he said. You need this. No, he said. I really don't. Black Friday at a casino is its own special hell. Shoppers become gamblers, thinking they'll win enough for Christmas presents. The floor was packed, energy manic, and Marcus was in the middle of it all, unshaven and hollow-eyed. Went to one GA meeting, he told me. Yesterday. Thanksgiving in a church basement with a bunch of losers talking about their feelings. How was it? I lasted 10 minutes. Couldn't even say my name. Hi, I'm Marcus, and I couldn't finish. Because finishing makes it real. He was playing with borrowed money now. Not from family, those bridges were ash. From payday loan places, the kind that charge 30% interest and don't ask questions. 800 from Cashmax, he said, laying it on the felt. Due in 2 weeks at 1100. But if I can turn this into $2,000 tonight, I pay them back and still have 1200. The math of desperation never works. Within an hour, he was down at 200. Within 2, he had nothing. You know what's fucked up? He said, staring at the empty betting circle. I know exactly what I'm doing. I know the odds. I know the house edge. I know I'm going to lose. And I still can't stop my hands from pushing chips forward. His phone buzzed. A photo from Stephanie. Emma in her angel costume for the Christmas pageant rehearsal. Wings made of wire hangers and white sheets. Tinsel halo crooked on her head. Marcus stared at it until the screen went dark. I'm missing everything, he said. Tyler's soccer games. Emma's rehearsals. Bedtime stories. Weekend pancakes. All for what? For this. He gestured at the empty table. So stop. With what money? I owe the casino $8,000. Cashmax 800. Kevin 1500. My mother 2000. Yeah, I borrowed from my 70-year-old mother. How do I stop when stopping means facing all that? There was no answer. Or rather, the answer was simple but impossible. You just stop. You face the wreckage. You rebuild. But Marcus wasn't ready for simple impossibilities. Can I ask you something? He said. Do you ever think about the people you deal to? Like, actually think about them. Every day. Does it matter? Not to the cards. He nodded, understanding perfectly. I need to tell you something. The ring, my wedding ring. I didn't pawn it. I've been hiding it. Keeping it as my last line. The thing I absolutely won't bet. That's good. No, he said. It's not. Because I think about it every time I'm here. One more thing I could convert to chips. And one day, probably soon, I'm going to do it. He left after that, walking into the Black Friday morning light. But I knew he'd be back. The ring was waiting. The table was waiting. I was waiting, whether I wanted to be or not. December arrived with Marcus living in his Camry full-time. I knew because I'd see him in the parking garage when I arrived for my shift, slumped in the driver's seat, surrounded by empty coffee cups and marker receipts. Craig fired me, he announced on December 5th, sitting down at my table with $40, all he had left. Well, technically I'm on administrative leave pending review, but we both know what that means. He'd missed too many meetings, fallen asleep during a client presentation, been caught falsifying his timesheet to cover casino visits. The kind of mistakes that cascade when your life becomes about one thing only. Stephanie, no. Why would I tell her? She's already got enough ammunition for the custody hearing. Custody. The word was new, sharp, final. She filed. Not divorce. Not yet. Legal separation with preliminary custody arrangements. I get supervised visits if I can prove I'm in treatment. He bet his $40, lost it in 3 hands, then sat at the empty table watching other people play. Domingo didn't say anything. Marcus was a producer on credit, even tapped out. His presence might inspire him to find more money somewhere. You want to know the really pathetic part? Marcus said, I've been stealing from myself. Had a 401k with about 15,000. Took the early withdrawal penalty, got 11,000 cash. Told myself it was just temporary, I'd pay it back with my winnings. That was 3 weeks ago. How much is left? You're looking at it. He gestured at the empty table. 11,000 to nothing in 3 weeks. That's got to be some kind of record. It wasn't. I'd seen worse. But pain isn't a competition, and Marcus's was real enough. His phone rang. His mother. Hi, Mom. Yeah, I'm fine. Just at work. The lie came so easily now. No, I can't make it to Sunday dinner. Big project. I know. Tell Emma and Tyler I love them. If you see them. After he hung up, he told me his mother had been calling the casino, asking if her son was there. Front desk always said they couldn't give out customer information. Professional ethics, they called it. She knows anyway, Marcus said. Mothers always know. She told me my father had a gambling problem. Back in the 80s. Lost their first house playing poker. I swore I'd never be like him. Maybe that's why you should call her back. Tell her the truth. With what words? Hi, Mom. I'm just like Dad, except worse because I had his example and did it anyway. 3 days later, he was back with cash from somewhere. When I asked, he just said, "You don't want to know." But I could guess. The Camry's radio was gone. His watch. His laptop. Anything that could become money had become money, and all money became chips. And all chips became nothing. December 18th started with Marcus getting fired via certified letter delivered to the casino. Security brought it to the table, which should have been humiliating, but Marcus was beyond humiliation. He read it twice. Termination effective immediately, citing job abandonment and falsification of records, then used it as a bookmark at the table while he went to the bathroom. When he came back, his eyes were red-rimmed. 5 years at PG&E, he said. Worked my way up from junior analyst. Perfect reviews until 6 months ago. What happened 6 months ago? You did. It wasn't an accusation, just a fact. I happened. The casino happened. The cards happened. He bet his last 100 on one hand. Money from God knows where. Lost. Asked Domingo for another marker. For the first time since October, Domingo said no. I'm sorry, Mr. Chun. Credit department has flagged your account. Flagged. You're at maximum exposure. 8,000 in markers, no recent payments, no current employment verification. I can't extend more credit. Marcus laughed, bitter and hollow. No current employment. Yeah, that's one way to put it. He sat at the empty table, just watching. In 6 years of dealing, I'd seen this moment hundreds of times. The one where the money runs out, but the need doesn't. Some people leave. Some beg. Some try to sell jewelry right at the table. Marcus just Saturday other players moved to different tables, uncomfortable with his presence. Can't blame them. Desperation is contagious. And Marcus radiated it like heat. Sir, if you're not playing, I need to ask you to step away from the table, Carlotta said, appearing with her supervisor's smile. I'm waiting for a friend, Marcus lied. You can wait in the lounge area. 5 more minutes. Sir, please. The word cracked. Just 5 more minutes. Carlotta looked at me. I should have backed her up, told Marcus to leave. Instead, I kept dealing to the empty seats around him, pretending not to notice he was there. Carlotta walked away. She'd be back, we both knew it. But for now, Marcus could sit at his table, table 7, the one that had taken everything, and watch the cards fall for other people. You know what I realized? He said quietly. I don't even enjoy it anymore. The gambling. Haven't for weeks. It's just what I do now. Like breathing. Except breathing doesn't cost me my family. His phone buzzed. Emma calling from Stephanie's phone. Daddy, are you coming to my Christmas pageant tomorrow? I could hear her voice, tiny and hopeful. Marcus closed his eyes. I'll try, sweetheart. Mommy says you're sick. Yeah, baby. Daddy's sick. Will you get better? Marcus looked at me, at the cards in my hand, at the empty betting circle where his life had disappeared one chip at a time. I don't know. After Emma hung up, Marcus stood to leave. Then he pulled out the termination letter, smoothed it flat on the table, and walked away, leaving it there like a receipt for everything he'd lost. I dealt the next hand to his empty chair out of habit. Then I dealt another, and another, waiting for him to come back, knowing he would, because they always do when they've got nothing left to lose except the one thing they've been saving. Christmas Eve was 6 days away, and I could feel it coming, the weight of his wedding ring hitting the felt. The only question was whether I'd deal the hand that took it. December 18th dragged into the 19th, and Marcus hadn't left the casino property. I found him asleep in his Camry when I came in for my evening shift. The termination letter still visible on his dashboard. Coffee cups breeding in the back seat. He came to my table at 11 p.m. with eyes like broken glass. Sold plasma today, he said, showing me the bandage on his arm. $60. You know what's really fucked? They give you cookies and juice after, like you're a kid who scraped their knee. He bet the 60 in two hands. Lost both. That's it, he said. That's literally everything. But addicts always have one more thing. We both knew what was hidden somewhere, save for the moment when everything else was gone. His wedding ring, the one he claimed was being resized, the one that had been waiting for this moment since November. My mother called 6 times today, he said, sitting at the empty table. Left voicemails. Want to hear one? He played it on speaker. Marcus, baby, I know you're there. I know you're at that place. Your father did this too, and it killed him. Please come home. We can figure this out. Emma and Tyler need their father. I need my son. Please. His mother's voice cracked at the end. Marcus deleted the message. Can't face her, he said. Can't face any of them. You know what's worse than being a failure? Being a failure who can see exactly how he's failing and can't stop. Carlotta appeared again. Sir, you need to play or move. I'm thinking about my next bet. Think somewhere else. This time I couldn't protect him. Marcus stood, walked to the bathroom, came back with water on his face like he'd been crying or trying to wake up or both. Tomorrow's Emma's Christmas pageant, he said. She's the lead angel. Been practicing for 2 months. I promised I'd be there. So go. With what gas money? In what clean clothes? To sit alone while every other family huddles together. He left around 3 a.m., but I saw his car still in the garage when my shift ended. December 24th, he'd return with the ring. Christmas Eve at a casino is desperation wrapped in blinking lights. The decorations make it worse somehow. Tinsel and fake snow mocking everyone who's here instead of home. Marcus appeared at my table at 10 p.m. with a small velvet box. This isn't my wedding ring, he said, opening it. Inside was Stephanie's engagement ring. Princess cut, 1 carat, catching the casino lights like it was trying to signal for help. I remembered him talking about it months ago, how he'd saved for 6 months to buy it, proposed at their college graduation. She doesn't know I have it, he said. Thinks it's in our safety deposit box. Been telling her the bank's been closed when she asks about it. Marcus, I need you to deal. That's all. Just deal the cards. Domingo appeared like smoke, already knowing what was happening. That's his gift, smelling desperation across a crowded floor. Mr. Chun, we'll need to get that appraised. How much? Let me make a call. There's a jeweler who plays poker upstairs most nights. Within 20 minutes, he was at my table with a loupe, examining the ring under the lights while Marcus stood there like a man watching his own autopsy. For 1,000, the jeweler said. It's a good stone. It costs 7,000, Marcus said quietly. That was retail. This is reality. Marcus nodded. What else could he do? Reality had been beating him down for months. The transaction was quick. Ring to Domingo, chips to Marcus, for $1,000 in green and black circles that used to be a promise to love and cherish forever. Emma called an hour ago, Marcus said, stacking the chips. Crying because Daddy wasn't at her pageant. Stephanie had to tell her I was sick. Not lying, really. He bet 500 on the first hand. 1. The universe's cruelest joke, letting him win now, with Stephanie's ring. Maybe this is it, he said. Maybe this is the comeback. It wasn't. It never is. By 2 a.m. on Christmas morning, he was down to his last 1,000. By 4 a.m., 500. By dawn, nothing. The empty velvet box sat on the table like an accusation. Merry Christmas, he said to no one, and walked out into the cold morning, leaving the box behind. New Year's Eve arrived with Marcus missing for a week. I'd started dealing to his empty chair out of habit, phantom hands for a phantom player. Other dealers said he'd probably killed himself. It happens. More often than the casinos want you to know. Then at midnight exactly, as 2024 became 2025, Marcus walked in, clean-shaven, borrowed suit that almost fit, clear eyes. I've been at my mom's in Modesto, he said, not sitting down. 7 GA meetings in 7 days. Got a sponsor. His name's Robert. That's good, Marcus. Stephanie let me see the kids yesterday. Supervised visit. Tyler asked why I looked different. I've gained 6 pounds. Eating regular meals at Mom's house. He pulled out a white chip, The kind they give at GA for 24 hours clean. 7 days, he said. Longest I've gone since September. Why are you here? To tell you I'm done. To look at this place one more time and walk away. But Vince chose that moment to appear, drunk on champagne and nostalgia. Marcus, where you been, buddy? First drinks on me. I'm not drinking. Come on, it's New Year's. Domingo drifted over. Mr. Chun, Happy New Year. You know, we could restructure those markers. Make them more manageable. Fresh start for a fresh year. I'm not playing. Of course not. But just so you know, the option's there. The option. The door that never quite closes. The invitation that never expires. One hand, Vince said, putting $100 chip in front of Marcus. For luck. For the new year. Marcus looked at the chip. At me. At the table where he'd lost everything. Just one. He said that I wanted to refuse. Wanted to slide the chip back to Vince. Tell Marcus to run. Instead, I shuffled. Cut. Dealt. Marcus got 20. I showed a 6. Good hand for the player that he won. See, Vince laughed. Your luck's changing. Marcus looked at the 200 in chips, his winnings. Then pushed them forward for another bet. Marcus, I said, breaking protocol. You don't have to, just deal. I dealt. He won again. 400 now. By 1 a.m. on New Year's Day. Marcus was back in his chair, back in the cycle. Telling himself this time would be different while everything stayed exactly the same. January 20th. Marcus placed his wedding ring on the betting circle, not pawned, not sold, hidden for 4 months, saved for the absolute end. The last piece of who he used to be. For 100, Domingo said after a quick appraisal. For the white gold. I looked at the ring. Simple band. Inscription inside too small to read, but probably something about forever. Then I looked at Marcus. Unshaven again. The New Year's resolution, 3 weeks dead. Wearing the same clothes he'd worn yesterday. I can't do this, I said. The words surprised everyone, including me. Excuse me. Domingo's voice was sharp. I can't deal this hand. That's not your decision. Marcus stared at me like I'd betrayed him. Maybe I had. Maybe that's what he needed. Deal the cards, he said quietly. Please. I need this. No. Carlotta appeared within seconds. Is there a problem? She won't deal, Marcus said, and there was something broken in his voice. I won't take his wedding ring. That's not your choice, Carlotta said. Deal or walk. 6 years at this job. Steady paycheck. Health insurance. My mother depending on me since Dad died. Everything sensible, said deal the cards. My father sat at a table like this. I heard myself say. Different casino, same story. Dealers took his wedding ring, his car title, everything. I was 8 when he died. Markers he couldn't pay. Heart attack at 45, but really the gambling killed him. Marcus's hand closed around the ring. I watched my mother work 3 jobs to bury him. I continued. Told myself I'd never enable that. Then I became a dealer. Told myself it was different. Just a job. It is just a job, Carlotta said. One you're about to lose. Security had gathered, waiting. The other players at nearby tables were watching. The whole casino seemed to pause. Your kids don't deserve this, I told Marcus. Neither did I. He looked at the ring in his palm. Such a small thing to carry so much weight. Deal the hand, Carlotta said. Last chance. I set down the cards. I quit. The manager's office smelled like old coffee and disappointment. Mr. Huang sat behind his desk, fingers steepled, while I stood like a kid in the principal's office. 6 years, he said. Good record. No complaints. Then this. Through the security monitors, I could see Marcus still at table 7, ring in the betting circle, other players waiting impatiently. Carlotta had taken over, dealing around him while he sat frozen. I'll make this simple, Huang said. Deal the hand. Keep your job. Walk away, and you're done. No references. No unemployment. Nothing. I know. You have rent. Responsibilities. I know. This won't save him. Someone else will take his ring. If not here, then somewhere else. I know. He leaned back, studying me. Then why? I thought about all the Marcuses I'd dealt to over 6 years. The retirees betting Social Security checks. The mothers gambling away diaper money. The kids fresh out of college, starting their adult lives in debt. Because I can't anymore, I said. I can't watch people destroy themselves and pretend I'm just following orders. You're not responsible for their choices. No, but I'm responsible for mine. Huang shrugged. Your choice, then. Clear out your locker. Final check will be mailed. I stood to leave, then looked back at the monitors. Marcus had picked up his ring, was holding it up to the light like he was seeing it for the first time in months. What about him? I asked. Not your problem anymore. But he was. They all were. Every player I'd dealt to, every life I'd watched crumble, every family destroyed one hand at a time. They were all my problem, carried like a weight I'd never asked for but couldn't put down. I walked back through the casino floor, no longer an employee, just another civilian. The sounds were the same, slots singing, ice rattling, cards shuffling, but I heard them differently now. Marcus saw me coming. Stood up. The ring was in his closed fist. What? He asked. It was the only word that mattered. My father's name was David. I told Marcus, standing by his chair while security waited to escort me out. Played blackjack every night for 20 years. Mom thought he was working overtime. Marcus's fist stayed closed around the ring. I was 8 when I found out. Heard Mom crying in the bathroom, found the notices. Markers from 3 different casinos. 60,000 total. Jesus. He died 2 months later. Heart attack in the parking lot of Caesar's Palace. Still had chips in his pocket. Mom worked 3 jobs for 5 years to pay off his debts and bury him. The security guard touched my elbow. Ma'am, time to go. 1 minute. Marcus's phone buzzed. Stephanie calling. He didn't answer, but we could see the contact photo. Her and the kids at some beach, everyone smiling. Emma and Tyler deserve better, I said. So does Stephanie. So do you. I can't stop. You know that. You've watched me try. I watched you not try. There's a difference. I pulled out my phone, found a contact. This is Robert. My GA sponsor. Same one I offered you before. You go to GA. 5 years. Stopped gambling before I started dealing. Stupid, right? Like an alcoholic working at a bar. Marcus took the phone, looked at the number. Why didn't you tell me before? Would it have mattered? He thought about it. No. Exactly. The security guard was done waiting. Ma'am, now. I started walking. Marcus followed, leaving the table, the ring still in his hand. What are you going to do? He asked. For work. Move back to Fresno. Take care of my mom. Maybe community college. Something that doesn't involve watching people destroy themselves. We reached the parking garage. His Camry sat in its usual spot, back seat full of marker receipts, and empty hope. Marcus pulled out the family photo on his phone. Emma in her angel costume. Tyler with his soccer ball. Stephanie trying to hold it all together. She doesn't know about the engagement ring, he said. Still thinks it's safe. So put it back. With what money for a safety deposit box? Your mom. Ask your mom. He laughed, bitter. Hey mom, can you help me hide the evidence of how I betrayed my wife? Hey mom, can you help me save my marriage? Different words. Same request. Everything depends on how you frame it. The parking garage at 3 a.m. was a tomb of bad decisions. Empty beer cans, cigarette butts, and Marcus's Camry with its back seat full of the paper trail of his destruction. He lit a cigarette he'd bummed from security. His first since college, he said. You know what's fucked? He exhaled smoke into the fluorescent air. The ring was supposed to prove I could stop anytime. Like, as long as I didn't bet this, I wasn't really an addict. But you bet it. Almost bet it. Would have if you hadn't, he stopped. Why did you do that? Really? I thought about the real answer. About dealing to my father in my dreams. About seeing his face in every desperate player. About the weight of complicity that no paycheck could balance. Because someone should have done it for my dad. Marcus showed me his phone. The wallpaper was Emma and Tyler at Christmas, Stephanie cropped out, but her hand still visible on Tyler's shoulder. A ghost limb of their former life. I've been lying to them, he said. To everyone. Telling the kids daddy's working. Telling Stephanie I'm in treatment. Telling my mom I'm looking for jobs. So stop lying. With what words? The true ones. He pulled up a text thread with Stephanie. The last message from her. The kids keep asking when daddy's coming home. He typed, I need help. Deleted it. Typed, I'm sorry. Deleted that too. I don't know how to start, he said. Start with Robert. The GA sponsor. Marcus looked at the number I'd given him. What if it doesn't work? What if it does? We stood there in the concrete cave of the parking garage, 2 people who'd been on opposite sides of the same table for months. Dealer and player. Enabler and addict. Both complicit in the destruction. I'm moving to Fresno tomorrow, I said. My mom needs help, and I need to not be here. Running away. Starting over. There's a difference. Marcus stubbed out the cigarette, looked at his Camry packed with his life. I've got supervised visits Sunday, he said. 2 hours at McDonald's with a social worker watching. That's what I've turned my kids' lives into. Happy meals with supervision. His hand was still closed around the ring. That fist had been clenched for an hour now. Keep it closed, I said, until you're somewhere safe. We shook hands then. His grip was firm for the first time in months. March arrived with spring and a text from an unknown number that I was in Fresno, working at Home Depot in the garden center. My mom's health was improving. I'd enrolled in community college for fall semester. The weight of other people's losses was starting to lift. The text was a photo of a GA chip. 60 days clean. This is Marcus, the next text said. Got your number from Robert. I sat on a bag of fertilizer in the break room and stared at that chip. In its silver surface, I could see a reflection, blurry but unmistakable. Marcus's face, looking forward instead of down. Congrats, I texted back. Living with my mom. Working at a call center. Seeing kids every Sunday. Supervised, but still. The ring. Back in the safety deposit box. Stephanie doesn't know it was ever gone. The markers. Payment plan. $50 a week. Only 40 years to go. That emoji, the first sign of actual humor I'd seen from him. I testified at your unemployment hearing, he wrote. Told them you saved my life. Did I? No. But you stopped dealing. Sometimes that's enough. I saved the photo of his chip. On bad nights, when I wondered if quitting had mattered, I'd look at it. Proof that sometimes people do walk away from the table. 3 dots appeared, showing he was typing. They stayed there for a full minute. Finally. Do you ever think about the casino? Every day. Me too. Does it get easier? 3 dots again. Then, I'll let you know. We never texted again. But I kept his number saved, filed under Marcus, table 7. A reminder of where I'd been. Who I'd been. What I'd finally stopped being. Some weights you carry whether you pick them up or not. The weight of every player you dealt to. Every loss you enabled. Every family you helped destroy. But sometimes, rarely, but sometimes, someone sets the weight down. Walks away. Starts over. Marcus got his 60-day chip. 90 days. 6 months. I know because Robert told me, the few times we talked. Last I heard, Marcus was assistant managing the call center. Still doing supervised visits, but lawyers were working on changing that. Still paying $50 a week on his markers, still not gambling. The ring stayed in the safety deposit box. His kids grew taller. The marriage counseling continued. The story didn't end with the casino. It just went on, day by day, choice by choice that I never went back to dealing. Never went back to the riverside. But on quiet nights at Home Depot, watering plants that would grow into something better. I'd think about table 7. Empty now of Marcus, but never really empty. Never really empty at all. 2 years later. I was teaching a financial literacy class at Fresno City College when Marcus walked through the door. Not literally Marcus, but might as well have been. Same exhausted eyes, same nervous energy, same way of checking his phone like it might explode. This one's name was Anthony. 23 years old, sophomore, sitting in my evening class because he'd blown through his student loans at table games. Professor, he said after class, and I had to stop him. I'm not a professor, just an instructor. And I work at Home Depot during the day. Right, sorry. I heard you used to work at a casino. Word travels in small academic circles. I'd mentioned it once during a lecture on predatory lending, comparing payday loans to casino markers. Shouldn't have said anything, but the comparison was too perfect to skip. 6 years, I admitted. Dealt blackjack. Did you ever? He stopped, started again. Did you ever see people get better? I thought about Marcus. Last update from Robert, 6 months ago. 18 months clean, promoted to call center manager, unsupervised visits with his kids every weekend. Still married, somehow. Still paying $50 a week on those markers. 38 more years to go. Sometimes, I told Anthony. But not at the tables. Never at the tables. He nodded, understanding more than I'd said. I'm down 12,000. Student loans, mostly. Some credit cards. My parents don't know. 12,000. At his age, that was a mortgage on his future. Every semester from here forward would carry that weight, plus interest. There's a GA meeting. I started, but he was already shaking his head. I tried. Couldn't talk. Just sat there for an hour listening to people talk about how many days clean they were. Felt like a funeral. It is a funeral. For the person you were when you were gambling. That stopped him. He stood there in my empty classroom, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, and I could see him processing it. The death of the Anthony who thought he could beat the house. The birth of whoever came next. I keep thinking if I could just win it back. Stop. I pulled out my phone, showed him something I'd saved. The photo of Marcus's 60-day chip. See this? Guy lost everything. Job, house, nearly his family. You know what he told me? He said the hardest part wasn't stopping. It was accepting that the money was already gone, that there was no winning it back. It was already spent the moment he placed the first bet. Anthony stared at the photo. Who was he? Just a guy? Sat at my table for 3 months, lost 8,000 in markers plus everything else he could convert to chips. Last time he came in, he tried to bet his wedding ring. Did you take it? No. Quit my job instead. He looked at me differently then. Not as an instructor teaching financial literacy, but as someone who'd been on the other side of his destruction. Why? It was Marcus's question all over again. Why? Why did I deal for 6 years? Why did I stop? Why does any of it matter? My mom's sick, I said, which wasn't an answer but was also the only answer. Kidney disease from diabetes. Started when my dad's gambling left us without insurance for 3 years. She couldn't afford insulin, rationed it, destroyed her kidneys. Now I drive her to dialysis 3 times a week. Jesus. Gambling's not just about the gambler. It's about everyone in the blast radius. Anthony slumped into a desk, the kind with the little attached table that makes adults feel like giants. My girlfriend doesn't know. We're supposed to move in together after graduation. She'll find out. Not if I fix it first. There is no fixing it first. There's only fixing it now, with the truth, or waiting until the lies collapse. My phone buzzed. A text from my mom. Where are you? Jeopardy's starting. Our routine now. Jeopardy every evening. Her in her chair with the dialysis equipment, me grading papers or prepping lessons. Simple. Quiet. Nothing like the casino floor. I have to go, I told Anthony. But here. I wrote down Robert's number, same one I'd given Marcus 2 years ago. Call him. Tell him I sent you. Tell him you're ready to bury the person you were. Anthony took the paper, folded it carefully. Does it work? GA. If you work it. That sounds like something from a poster. Most true things do. I packed up my teaching materials, handouts on compound interest, amortization schedules, the real cost of credit. All the math that might keep someone from walking into a casino thinking they can beat the odds. Probably wouldn't work, but I had to try. That guy. Anthony said as I reached the door. The one with the ring. What happened to him? I thought about the last text from Marcus, sent a year ago, a photo of his family at Tyler's soccer game. Stephanie was in it this time, not cropped out. They weren't smiling exactly, but they were together. Standing close. Trying. He learned to live with loss. I said. Not just the money. The time. The trust. The person he thought he was. He learned to live with all of it. Sounds depressing. Sounds like recovery. I left Anthony sitting in that empty classroom, holding Robert's number. Maybe he'd call. Maybe he'd go back to the tables first, lose more, hit a harder bottom. Maybe he'd be one of the lucky ones who stop before the rain comes off. Driving home to my mother, I passed 3 casinos. Their signs blazed against the Fresno dusk, promising fortune, fun, escape. I thought about all the dealers working their shifts right now. All the Marcuses sitting at their tables. All the rings being converted to chips. All the last chances that weren't really last, a red light. I texted Marcus. Teaching now. Financial literacy. Thought you should know. 3 dots appeared immediately, like he'd been holding his phone. Then, good. Someone should know the real cost. How much do you still owe? $7,400. But who's counting? You are. Every week. $50 at a time. The light turned green. I put the phone away, drove home to my mother. She was in her chair, dialysis machine humming, watching Wheel of Fortune now because I was late. How was class? She asked. Good. Sad. Necessary. Most important things are. We watch people buy vowels they couldn't afford, spin wheels that might bankrupt them, applaud when someone else won what they'd lost. It was gambling sanitized for TV, but I could see through it now. The desperation behind the smiles. The math that never favored the player. Dad would have been proud, Mom said suddenly. You teaching, helping people. Dad would have been at a blackjack table. Maybe. Or maybe he would have gotten help. If someone had refused to deal to him. We never talked about it directly. That night when I quit. But somehow she knew. Mothers always know. I kept one thing from the casino. I admitted, pulling it from my wallet. A single chip, $5 denomination, read as a warning. What? To remember. What I did. Who I was. What I stopped being. She took the chip, turned it over in her fingers. Such a small thing to carry such weight. Your father had one too, she said. In his pocket when he died. Like he was planning to go back. Always planning to go back. I'm not going back. I know. She handed me the chip. I held it up to the light, saw my reflection in its surface. Distorted but recognizable. A dealer who stopped dealing. A daughter who came home. A teacher trying to change the math. Outside, Fresno settled into night. Somewhere, Anthony was deciding whether to call Robert. Somewhere, Marcus was tucking his kids into bed, $50 poorer but 2 years richer. Somewhere, dealers were shuffling cards for players who thought tonight would be different. Table 7 at the Riverside Casino had a new dealer now. Someone else enabling the destruction, dealing the cards, taking the rings. The cycle continuing because that's what cycles do, but not with me. Not anymore. I put the chip back in my wallet. That small weight I'd carry forever. Evidence of who I'd been. Reminder of who I'd chosen not to be. Proof that sometimes, rarely, but sometimes, someone stops dealing the cards that destroy people. Even if the house always wins. You don't have to be the house. You can choose to be something else, something better, even if it takes the rest of your life. $50 at a time to pay for what you've done.